Finance Committee meeting of November 12th, 2015. And we are being broadcast tonight, and in accordance with the open meeting law, I just want to remind everyone that we are being recorded, and replays will be both on Channel 8 and available on YouTube. Do we have any communication from the public?
I'm just here to observe.
Okay, that's great. I do have a number of items here. First of all, I just received from Monty Tech the revised final regional school district assessment. Our assessment is $799,478. And our assessment is not detailed here, but it looks like the overall, I'm sorry, here it is. Our overall is going down by $2,005. So that's revised downward from $801,484. Overall, across the district, the assessment is down by $16,763. So that's a good thing. I'd like to remind everyone of the Town of Lunenburg Senior Tax Work-Off Abatement Program. And details of this are available at Town Hall. But basically, if you're a qualified senior citizen, 60 years or older, you have an opportunity to work off up to $1,000 of your property tax bill. And town departments are asked to submit any requests that they have for help, so that we can put these seniors to work and have them work off up to $1,000. I think there are some income guidelines as well. And there is an application if you're interested in it. I have a notice here of an information meeting. The Lunenburg Planning Board will hold an information meeting on November 23rd, 6:35 p.m. here at Town Hall, to hear and discuss a site plan review under section 8.4 of the protective bylaw of the town. The application is for an outdoor patio dining area and increased signage for the restaurant at 1 Main Street. The applicant is Adam Wernick, 48 Holden Road, Shirley. The property owner is Lunenburg Village Realty, Box 681, Concord, Mass. And application and plans are available for viewing in the planning office. There's also a hearing, Lunenburg Planning Board, public hearing, same night, November 23rd, also at 6:35 here at Town Hall, to hear and review a request to construct driveways at lots 1 through 5 at 175 Northfield Road. That's map 51, parcel 37, under Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 15C, scenic road designations, and under Mass General Law, Chapter 87, Section 3, cutting of public shade trees. Owner applicant is Ashorn LLC, 351 East Menominee Road, Ringe, New Hampshire. Applications and plans are available in the planning office. And then finally, I have the latest edition of the Beacon. Any other communications from the committee?
No.
I have just one. Yesterday, we celebrated Veterans Day. I just want to say thank you for your service, anyone who's a veteran or currently serving in the armed forces. And with that, our first order of business is to review the warrant articles for the November 16th special town meeting and vote on our recommendations. Kerry, are you prepared to walk us through this?
Thank you.
So I think the only item before you this evening for the special town meeting is the budget adjustments. We went through the proposed budget adjustments at your last meeting, and since that time there have been a couple of additional adjustments. So the last time we talked about this, we talked about the need to increase the veterans benefits line by $50,000. And I believe we did talk about the decrease in the Monty Tech assessment. I think you just got the official notice, but that is going down by $2,006, as the chair noted. And then we also talked about, we sort of had some additional funds that we didn't anticipate as a result of the changes in state aid. And that amount was on the sheet I just handed out to you, $39,116, and we talked about putting that in the reserve fund. I think we had some discussion about stabilization fund versus reserve fund, and given that we always end the year with a snow and ice deficit, and I think it's safer, at least at this point, to put that into the reserve fund. So the only other addition that we've had since we talked about this the last time is we had some additional 40S funding, the funding that the town receives as a result of the Tri-Town development. At the last meeting, we talked about the fact that the state hadn't fully funded that. They were only giving us a portion of that, and since the time that we met last, the state has included an additional supplemental appropriation into 40S, still not funding us at what we should be if the program was funded at 100%, but it's given us some additional revenue. And so we've included that into the budget, and what we're proposing is that we reduce local receipts in the same amount. Rather than talk about yet another increased appropriation, we would prefer to handle it by reducing the local receipts so that we can balance the budget that way. And then if local receipts end up coming in higher, then we have a little bit extra at the end of the year. So that's what's proposed here. And I guess the corollary to that is that we need to increase the actually, no, we didn't increase the stabilization fund. The warrant, the amount that was printed in the warrant that the selectmen voted was in error. I think in the warrant it says $6,623, and the amount is $7,136 under that particular article. That would be Article 14.
14. So, Kerry, this is to keep the stabilization fund in line with our 5% guideline?
Yes, it is.
Given the increase in revenues?
Yes. So if you would like, I can review the changes that we talked about the last time in detail. I wasn't sure if you wanted to do that or not.
I'm okay. I don't,
I guess I would just ask if the committee has any questions. Do we need to go into greater detail than what's presented here?
Just one, actually, and that is, we would reduce the local receipts by the same amount as the increases from the state. That might translate into more free cash at the end, right?
It may, yes.
Combined with, I think that we got a notice from you that the new revenue, new growth was a little higher, trending a little higher so far.
The new growth was certified at $40,856 higher than what we anticipated at the time of annual town meeting.
Okay. So
So-
that's another opportunity that could translate into more free cash.
Well, no, we've accounted for that in the revenue estimate, yeah.
Thanks. That's all I got.
right, and that's all referenced on the bottom of the sheet.
It is.
Yeah.
So we have to project or estimate that we're going to use 100% or collect 100% of property taxes. So we have to use, for new growth, we have to use exactly what was certified.
So Kerry, if I understand this correctly, then these adjustments are made under Article 3, and then separately, Article 14 moves $7,136,000 into the stabilization fund.
Yes.
So it's really two different articles, one for the budget adjustments and the other for the appropriation into stabilization.
Yes. So we'll work from one handout at town meeting. I'll go through everything and maybe even ask the moderator to take that Article 14 out of order. I'm not sure why we didn't put it together, but that's the way it happened. And he's usually open to taking them out of order, but just so people can understand what we're doing, we could address both of them at the same time.
Right, so, and then basically the Article 3 portion is just the top 3 lines.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
the Article 14 is just the additional stabilization fund appropriation, so that's, and then the rest is just informational.
Right, the rest is information to show the adjustments either in revenue or in non-appropriated charges, the state assessments and such.
So can I have a motion to recommend approval on Article 3, budget adjustments?
I make a motion to recommend approval on Article 3 budget adjustments.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Do we want to say in the total amount of $87,110, or we don't leave a figure off?
The figure is not in the article.
Okay.
Kerry, is it important that we recommend approval in a specific number? or
No, you can say as presented.
As presented?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None. That's 5-0. And then we have Article 14. Which is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to the stabilization fund or take any action, any other action relative thereto. And the amount here is $7,136. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of Article 14?
I'll make a motion to approve, to recommend approval of Article 14. Do I need to do a monetary figure there, though, where it's different?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
7136.
that's, what was the number again? 7?
7136.
All right, so I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 14. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay, in the amount of $7,136.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None.
Budget.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay. So we should review the other articles to see if they have financial impact. When last we spoke, Carrie, we were expecting Article 1 would be passed over as we do not yet have an agreement. Is that?
That is still the case.
Okay.
I beg your pardon, but just clarification. Do we expect that it would be passed over? Is it pretty certain? Is it a lead pipe certainty that it's going to be passed over? And the question is whether or not we need to vote recommendation or not in the prospect that it won't be passed over. Is it?
Nothing to take action on? Is that?
Yeah,
Or is
it will be passed over.
Will be
There's
passed,
no
No.
proposed agreement
Okay.
before the Board of Selectmen
Okay.
at this time.
And just to clarify that, John, if we anticipate that something will be passed over and decide not to make a recommendation,
We can do so.
we can do so
Okay.
at the special town meeting.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, Article 2 is prior year expenses. And last time we said we may not have any,
And we still do not.
okay? So as of now, we have no need to vote on that. Article 4, remaining borrowing authorizations.
We already voted to recommend approval. I'm looking at what went out.
I wrote holdover.
Did
I
you?
don't remember that.
Oh, it's a holdover article, right?
Yes,
And we had voted previously to recommend approval.
yes, on Articles 4 through 7.
Okay.
So if it would please the committee, unless there is an objection, I would allow our original recommendation to stand, unless there's an objection.
None except
Nope.
Okay?
just on the minutes. I beg your pardon for being such a stickler, but when was it that we originally recommended it?
Leading up to annual town meeting.
At the annual town
These are
meeting, yeah.
holdovers from
Okay,
the
yeah.
annual town meeting.
All right. Okay.
Does that make sense? So that's Articles 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Okay? Article 8 is the bylaw regulating use of vehicles on Whalum Lake. That is also a holdover.
We reported no direct financial impact.
Right. Anyone see any change in that? Okay, so. Okay, Article 9 is to enact a bylaw that restricts the public consumption of marijuana or tetrahydrocannabinol. Try saying that fast.
Just once we do it.
Can't say it wrong at all. With article,
Me either.
with,
That also is a holdover,
We thought there was no financial impact.
and we had no impact.
No, so we want to start talking about fines and stuff, but no.
It's early for that. Okay, so
Okay.
that's fine. Article 10, to enact a bylaw authorizing the Board of Selectmen to increase suitable persons to carry on the business of pawnbrokers, buyers and sellers, or dealers in metal. Had we made a recommendation on that
No, we were
previously?
going to make it at town meeting.
And if I recall, we did not yet get a presentation on the subject, is that?
No, you didn't. And the selectmen, at the time of annual town meeting, they were going to recommend at town meeting as well and wait for the presentation. They have had a presentation, so they voted to recommend approval.
Maybe a little bit different for us in the respect that there may not be any direct financial impact, is that?
Yeah, I think, there may be some licensing fees and some fines for penalties, but in those cases in the past, you haven't necessarily made a recommendation on.
So if it would please the committee, I'll wait until we see the presentation, and if at that time we think there are any financial implications, we can take a vote then.
Sure.
Otherwise, no direct impact. Article 11 is the sale, exchange, or, wait a minute.
We're on
Is
the
that right?
farmer's market.
Farmer's
Article 11
market.
is the farmer's market.
Purchasing.
Oh, that's Article 2
You're in
of,
section 11 of,
Page 8.
I don't have page numbers on it.
yep. Article 11, to add the below bolded wording to Article 29, Agricultural Commission.
You read that.
This is Article 11.
What's this?
Oh, that's different. This is the one that went
That's
out.
the print.
Yeah, this one is basically referring to running the farmer's market over to the Agricultural Commission. And we had voted to recommend approval the last, for the town meeting.
We did. And does anyone object to, or does anyone see a need to revisit that? Let me put it that way.
No?
So our vote was to recommend approval, and that will stand. Article 12, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into an alternative energy power purchase and/or net metering credit purchase agreements, including solar and wind energy, and related net electricity metering credits for terms of more than 3 years. And we had recommended approval on that.
And this was really just continuing authorization that you had already gotten at another town meeting, is that correct?
It is,
of,
we
sort of.
first presented net metering credit agreements to town meeting at the September 2012 special town meeting. The board received approval from town meeting to, or authorization to enter into those agreements. And so legally, we don't need an additional authorization, but in talking to the board, they felt that the presentations that were made at that time really were geared towards the two projects that we were considering, and there was some concern that maybe people felt that they were giving authorization for those specific projects, so we wanted to bring this specific project back and present that to town meeting. So this project is, I know we've talked about it before, but just to refresh everybody's memory, this is a 650 kilowatt project that's actually being built in Fitchburg. It will be split into two components, 50-50. 50% of it is a community solar project that anybody who is a customer of Unitil can apply to receive credits from the project. What we're talking about at this town meeting is the 50% of the project that is set aside for the town. The town will purchase the net metering credits at a 25% discount, and I believe we're expecting that to have a value of $30,000 to $40,000 per year.
Okay.
And we had voted to recommend approval, and I don't see a...
Does anyone want to challenge that recommendation?
No.
I'm also just, actually, it just occurred to me that Jay wasn't here for the original town meeting votes, and I don't know whether it makes sense to actually go ahead and re-vote just to...
Jay
so-
wasn't here?
In
He was
May?
here.
Were you part of the committee in May?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Has it been a year? I thought you were still sewer. That was last year. You've been here longer than I... Okay, thank you. As long as it's not just me.
He was.
Been here for long. You were here last
Yeah.
annual town
I
meeting.
was at town
He
meeting.
he attended
Oh,
the
okay.
town meeting
I'm
before
sorry.
that.
Then no.
You were absent.
See,
I
he
was.
knows.
You were here for the vote.
Now it's coming back. Now it's coming back.
Now it's coming back. I was here for the vote, but not the meeting. That's why. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, then,
He's not going to share with me anymore.
Article 13 is vote to delete Article 15 Salary Admin Plan of General Bylaws and replace with a new Article 15 Salary Admin Plan as printed below. And at our last meeting on October 8th, we did not meet on the 22nd as we were originally scheduled. So our last meeting was October 8th. We got a presentation from the chair of the salary, or the Personnel Committee, Cheryl Valera, explaining the changes in the salary admin plan, and she was good enough to explain that to us and field our questions. So I would accept a motion to recommend approval of Article 13.
We didn't already do that? I thought we did that.
We did not.
No, we did not.
But there's still going to be amendments presented that are not in this warrant?
There are amendments that she presented to you at the meeting, but they're not reflected in what's printed in the warrant, so there will be a handout at town meeting that has all of the additional amendments in it.
Okay, and then did we already vote to approve with amendments?
We did not take a vote at our meeting on October 8th.
Okay,
And we said that we would, Finance Committee recommends approval with amendments to be presented. Did we take a vote last time?
I thought you did.
I thought we did.
No. Almost certainly did not.
but we can take a vote now just to be...
We can.
Yeah.
And I'll accept a motion to recommend approval of Article 13.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 13 with the amendments as presented at town meeting.
I will second that.
Great. Any discussion? So, just to clarify, Carrie, the information that's printed in the warrant is being updated with a handout, and that handout reflects the information that we reviewed on October 8th.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None. 5-0. And then we just voted on Article 14. The remaining article is Article 15, to see if the town will vote to adopt a non-binding resolution opposing Northeast Energy Direct project as printed below. And this is a non-binding resolution. Don't know if folks have had an opportunity to read this, but given that it's a non-binding resolution, I would I would expect no direct financial impact.
I agree.
Okay.
Anyone object to that?
No?
Okay. Kerry, do we anticipate that there's any other business that we'll be conducting Monday night?
Nothing that's not on the warrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Great, thank you very much. Oh, and you're next on the agenda for any updates that you may have.
I'm not sure what I have. I did want to ask about potentially doing the financial forecast presentation on December 3rd, which is not typically a meeting night for you. I think if it goes the following week, which is the 10th, that would be a little on the late side. Typically, it's either, I guess we usually do it probably the first week in December. So if you could check your calendars and let me know.
December
I thought I
3rd.
would check with you first.
Yes, December 3rd. So ordinarily, we meet the second and fourth Thursdays. Both November and December this year fall on holidays. So we won't have our second meeting in November. That's on Thanksgiving Day. And then Christmas Eve would be December 24th. So we only have the meeting of December 10th on our schedule for the rest of the year. I think adding a meeting on December 3rd, provided we can establish a quorum, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And I can be here.
Looks okay for me.
It's fine with me.
If we can anticipate that we have a quorum, then we'll go ahead and schedule that.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
I don't have any other updates for you.
Okay. Any questions for Kerry?
No.
Thank you. John, we have minutes from our meeting of October 8th,
That is correct.
meeting we just talked about. Did everyone have a chance to review minutes from October 8th?
Yes.
Yes.
They looked okay.
I caught 4 separate errors, 2 spellings of last names, and I'm consistent. And I run 2 words together, and there was some other minor error, just typo errors, but I've corrected all of those. If anybody else says something that's substantive, you and I talked about something?
Just the dates.
Dates, oh.
Today's date was the 12th, not the 11th. and,
Yep, and I corrected that.
Yeah, I figured you had already caught that.
And there was one, I referred to a second Thursday, I guess.
Yeah, actually, the next,
We will not meet the second Thursday in November, which is, that's right. It's the 4th Thursday, so if I can just,
It's our second meeting.
it's our
I
second
will-
meeting, right, we won't have the
I
second
will
meeting.
cross out second and put 4th, henceforth. And
And
if
then
you can
otherwise, yeah.
accept the,
Okay.
And now make a motion to accept the minutes of October 8th.
Second.
Any discussion? Just a comment, John, I thought the minutes were very well done. Certainly nothing of substance. If you caught a spelling error here or there, that's great. But I find the minutes to be a good record of the discussion we had that night. So, well
Good.
done.
it's good to know that, because I know there are some additional things I have to keep in mind now in the wake of Joe Bard's presentation. And so I'm trying to get my arms around that, but thanks a lot.
So I have a seconded motion to approve the minutes from October 8th. Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None. Budget goals and opportunities. So, John, last time you shared with us some of the work that you're doing to better understand the school budget pattern
Yep.
and such. And I know you've also reached out to Superintendent Combs. And tentatively, we have invited the superintendent and the chair of the school committee to join us on December 10th.
Splendid, splendid.
I don't know if I need to turn that into a formal invitation, but my hope is that they will be able to join us. We can have an informal discussion on the budget prior to actually receiving a budget.
Well, Loxie is expecting something from either Karen or me regarding that. So why don't I just, or Karen can, just in passing, tell her that there'll be a joint meeting on they're invited to our meeting on the 10th. Could I elaborate a little bit on what's transpired so you all know what I've done?
Please do.
To give a little more nuance to the presentation on the school budget over the last several years, I looked at started to look at special education expenditures, and it turned into special services expenditures, which include English as a second language and other subgroups. And I've got a general idea of how much pressure that puts on the school budget. In general, the trend in increase in the expenditures in this area, which are mandated by the state and are what you would call, what we have pretty much agreed to call uncontrollable, are increasing by about 1%, a little over 1% more than the 3.7% increase in the overall town budget. So that, now I understand that all trends tend to be self-limiting. At the same time, this is one of those trends that we had to keep track of because of the possibility for further constraining our opportunities for growing town services in subsequent budgets. And so Lax and I have had 2 meetings, and I've just got to make sure I've got everything. I got a real good understanding of what the numbers are, and we're at the footnote level, frankly, right now. And so I'm going to run that past Loxie again, and then on our meeting of the either the 3rd or the 10th, we can run through it. Karen incidentally was able to carve out some time to attend the second meeting we had with Loxie, as was Heather Soroka. So it's been a useful exercise, and so we'll take it from there. And this is related to the second issue, which is when I was doing the minutes for the last meeting, there was a segment where we talked about the budget process. And I thought the notion of considering expenditures as being either controllable or non-controllable was a particularly valuable one. I'd like to ask if maybe in either the meeting on the 3rd or the meeting on the 10th, we carve out some more time to look at that in line with what we talked about, which was to apply some of the processes that the priority-driven budget process that Karen introduced to us, I think lend themselves to this process a little bit for framing the discussion. That's it.
And I would also comment that in some respects, that is how town manager has approached the budget. I think she's used slightly different terminology.
Yeah.
discretionary, non-discretionary, and less discretionary.
Yes.
Yeah, controllable versus discretionary. It has a similar connotation. But with regard to December 3rd, if we're receiving the financial forecast, that may take a fair amount of time. It may be more appropriate to take that up at our meeting on December 10th. And we'll have the context of the financial forecast as a backdrop
Yeah.
to help inform that discussion.
Sure. And the only interest I have is to make sure it precedes the actual budget process.
Right.
So that we get our ducks in a row in that. Okay.
Yeah, good. Anything else on budget priorities or the priority-setting process for tonight? This is an ongoing item on our agenda.
And I think the 10th will be a good time to, again, with the financial forecast in front of us, I think that would be really helpful to have to, in terms of framing it.
Right. Okay, moving on to committee and department updates. Capital planning.
Capital planning, we haven't had any meetings since, no we did, we had a meeting since last time, during which time we were able to draw together Jack Rodriguez's vehicle budget, police department vehicle budget, and fire department vehicle budget. And I've been able to I've consolidated them. Special call out to those three departments, and particularly Jack and the way that he framed his budget, because I use that as a template for including everybody else's. Haven't quantified it yet, but the opportunities there to time vehicle replacements, and so that they don't coincide in big lumps in particular fiscal years, may present themselves. So of course that's one of those things that's very easy to hypothesize and far more difficult to actually make happen. But the big thing is that Jack and Chief Sullivan and Chief Marino are working together on this, and so there may be some opportunity for timing vehicle replacements.
And I know one of the concerns that you raised last time was that every year, the costs of some of those vehicles goes up more than the 3.7% that the town revenues go up. So if we delay things like major purchases for fire apparatus, the cost can actually escalate well beyond the rate of inflation.
I actually looked in that a little more, and there is an increase, but the increase also covers increased functionality in the vehicles. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to back down some of the increased functionality and get a better price. But some of the out-year estimates by Chief Sullivan are quite mind-boggling. $1.3 million for a piece of equipment, which is, would consume more than one complete capital round. Yeah, so.
So what are the next steps on capital planning? When do you next meet?
We don't know. We're going to wait until the budget cycle process kicks off sometime early December, and then start the meetings again. Okay. The other thing, just to qualify what I just said, these initial meetings were were just a first cut, and that there'll be subsequent refinements as we go on.
Okay, thank you. DPW and Parks.
DPW, good news is that Jack said he's not experiencing the kinds of cost increases in road, sand, and salt that he did last year. So that takes a little pressure off of things. And nothing on the parks for me. And then public access cable, I missed the last meeting, I was ill, but that was the meeting that the chairperson resigned from PAC and CAC, so I don't even know if they have a quorum yet, or anymore.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Library?
I had missed the last meeting. They're meeting again next week, and I'll be attending that one.
Okay. Public safety?
And I just reached out to them very recently, but there really hasn't been any. I didn't hear back from Chief Marino today, but Chief Sullivan said, other than everything's still right on target and vehicle maintenance is still going to be that wild card for him, so.
Okay. Sewer commission?
No reports. I know they met the other night. I was not able to attend. And nothing on the green communities either.
Okay. School committee, Karen?
I don't have anything on either of the schools, as I wasn't able to attend the last Lunenburg school committee meeting. I did attend the Council on Aging this past week. It's quite a lively group. It's a big group, so it makes it fun. It actually is it's fun to sit there and listen to them. They did a bunch of updates on various things. They did have 9 people partake in the tax write-off program, and that they're kicking off for next year. They're starting that now. So like you said, that information available at Town Hall, or I'm assuming it's also available at the Eagle House, I would assume.
And it's online as well?
Yep. They had some building repairs done, 2 quick programs, just more for the folks watching so they know about. Sand for Seniors is coming back, where they will deliver sands to your home for the winter season, and they'll check your smoke detectors while they're there. It's a great program. We've had that around for a couple of years. And they're looking at bringing the Are You OK program back into town. That's where at a set time every single day, an automated system will call your home if you are, if there's a concern there. It's set up through the Eagle House, and they would call your home. If you answered, they know that you're good, and if you don't answer, they'd send somebody over. So they're working on a grant right now to try to bring that program back into town, and something with the coordination with the dispatch center on Devons to make sure that their phone systems can accommodate this. We've had it in the past, so they're just looking to reactivate it. So that's really
Great.
about all.
Great, thank you. School building committee, we actually met this evening. I came here straight from that meeting. We are approximately 65% complete with the construction. We're on schedule, on budget. The building is now weather tight. The objective was that it be weather tight by the middle of November, and it is such. The heat is actually turned on in buildings A and D. The heat isn't turned on yet in buildings B and C because there's not a lot of construction activity in those areas going on just now, so we're not heating them until we get in there and start doing some construction. The masonry, particularly the external facade, is substantially complete, and the permanent power has been turned on. So we switched over from temporary to permanent power.
Can we have a tour?
We had talked about arranging a tour. We can certainly do that. All we have to do is reach out to Rob Alger, who's the on-site PM. We had talked about maybe doing that at like a 4 o'clock or something, Terry, to try and
Yeah,
accommodate
it had to
you.
be, well, it had to be early because of the people on site, I thought. Oh,
Rob.
you're doing it as late as 4 o'clock to accommodate me, is that?
Right,
Oh,
right.
okay.
That's what we talked about. And
Okay.
I can reach out to Rob and see if he's okay with that.
Actually, I was just going to offer, I just scheduled one with Loxie at 3:30, if I could just check the date. I believe it's next Wednesday at 3:30.
Okay.
I'll go, I thought I had it here, but I don't.
Great.
So Next Wednesday would be the 18th.
My calendar actually says 3 o'clock. I can send a message out to you
Okay.
and confirm 3 or 3:30, but you're certainly welcome to come to that if you're
That would probably be
available.
easier.
Wonderful.
When is it?
Yeah.
Next Wednesday,
Next
the
Wednesday at
18th.
3.
Carrie's going to check the time. It's either 3 or 3:30.
Okay.
Thank you, Carrie. And then one other item on the school building committee, we had change order number 5 that we reviewed this evening and approved. And it is for 2 items. Changes to the grade in the auditorium. So they had to raise the grade by 6 inches, and that required bringing in some additional fill and having that graded correctly. That was $2,690. And then where the main gas service enters, they built some cement-filled columns at the recommendation of the fire department. They're called bollards. The bollards protect the meter from vehicular damage.
I'm going to have a spelling there.
Bollard,
Yeah.
B-O-L-L-A-R-D.
Oh, of course, bollards, yeah.
I wouldn't have known what they were if you had said bollard either, but we did get an explanation of it. It's kind of a cast iron tube filled with cement, and then buried in the ground, obviously. But that was the recommendation of the fire department. That was not specifically required by National Grid, but figured that would make it even safer than what's required. Cost is $5,513. So the total of those 2 change orders is $8,203. And the previously approved change orders is $162,912. So we've spent just over $170,000 of our contingency, and our remaining contingency is in the neighborhood of $4 million. So we're pretty tight to budget at this stage. That's all good.
And just a couple of follow-ups. That means that the contractor has made up all of the schedule slippage that was a result of last winter's weather. And I'm assuming that because the buildings are now sealed, the weather will have less effect on the project going forward.
That's correct, yeah?
And the further we get along on the project, the less likelihood there are for change orders, or at least for major change orders.
For major change orders with respect to errors and omissions or, things of consequence.
Yeah.
There is a list of alternates, if you will, which are discretionary items that we may or may not choose to fund as part of the project. And we have a running list of those items, and expect that we'll have discussion and debate on them at future meetings.
Thank you.
And then I also met with the Building Reuse Committee. We met on October 28th, and we met with Charlie Hay from Tapé Associates, who is doing the feasibility study, and we met with him to review his progress, and he's making great progress. He's updated our space requirements. He's performed a preliminary evaluation of all the buildings, and he's developed a number of alternatives that we then need to compare from a cost and suitability standpoint to complete our final review. We're on schedule for a next meeting on November 24th. We do expect to get another update from Charlie at that time. I think the report will be substantially complete at that time. So that's moving along on schedule. One thing also that we talked about was developing a list of frequently asked questions and anticipating the types of questions and concerns that the public may have, and documenting our answers to those in advance. And we felt that was pretty helpful in selling the school building project, and we may have some selling to do in terms of what makes sense from a building reuse. So the better informed we are with FAQs, the easier that will be. So we're trying to assemble what are the questions, and then hopefully provide the answers by the time the study is complete. And we next meet on November 24th. And that's all I have. We do have some ongoing business items that we've listed here, the pavement management plan. I think the select board had some review of the pavement plan. I wasn't able to sit in on that meeting. But Carrie, can we expect that we'll get an update on that at some point in the near future?
The discussion that the board had in a work session on Tuesday night was, they spent quite a bit of time talking about prioritizing funding for the plan and looking at potential new sources of funding for the plan. That's one of their fiscal year goals. So, yeah, at some point in the future, when they finalize what their policy is, we can present that to you. We did not set another meeting date, but I hope sometime in December they'll take that up again. They did ask the engineer that we are working with to do some additional analysis. So hopefully sometime next month they will take that up again, and we'll have more information to present.
Great, thank you. One other item on our ongoing business, the rules for retainage and release of funds on the school building project. I did raise that question. Jay, I think you had raised that at one of our prior meetings, and we put that on the agenda. But I have a better understanding of how that works. Basically, there's a 5% retainage. And on all items, every line item in the plan has a 5% retainage. When we're satisfied that the work is 100% complete and to our satisfaction, we can release the retainage for that line item. So some line items will be released early in the project. Other line items will be held until we're 100% satisfied with the work that's being done. So it's line item by line item that the retainage is released.
Okay, very good.
We have special town meeting next Monday, 7 o'clock, Lunenburg High School. Our regularly scheduled meeting is December 10th, 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. And we just added a meeting for December 3rd to receive the town manager's financial forecast. That will also be at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. And I believe that's all I have for this evening, unless anyone else has some business.
No.
I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. And it's 8 o'clock on the dot.
Great.